what, it's Jem here. Thank you for joining me, YouTube. I hope you are well, and thank you for clicking on Living with Anger. I've even got an incense stick today to calm and relax. So when I talk about anger, I don't get too angered. So I'm going to be talking about what anger is, as well as talking about what it's like for me living with anger on a daily basis, and the different types of anger there are, and how I express those different types. So anger is a natural response to feeling attacked, deceived, frustrated, or treated unfairly. Everyone gets angry sometimes. It's part of being human. It isn't always a bad emotion. In fact, it can sometimes be useful. For example, feeling angry about something can help us to identify things that are hurting us, motivate us to create change, and help us defend ourselves in dangerous situations by giving us that burst of energy. Anger comes from the fight or flight response, same as anxiety, so we sometimes need that anger to fight off, not physically fight, but in order to be able to take on what's being thrown at us. So putting us in a dangerous situation, we can have that energy to help us. That wasn't explained very well. Never mind, let's move on to the next thing. So when is anger a problem? Anger only becomes a problem when it harms you or people around you, and this can happen when you regularly express your anger through unhelpful or destructive behaviour. Your anger is having a negative impact on your overall mental and physical health. What is unhelpful anger? I will stop reading these in a second. Oh, by the way, this information I'm reading out now is taken from mind.org. So what is unhelpful anger? How you behave when you're angry depends on how well you're able to identify and cope with your feelings and how you've learnt to express them. Not everyone expresses anger in the same way. So I'm going to talk about some different ways that we express anger, but mainly because this is living with anger, I'm going to be talking about the ways that I express anger. So there are 3 types of anger that I'm going to be talking about: outward aggression and violence, inward aggression, and non-violent or passive aggression. So outward aggression, this includes things like shouting. So shouting, yes, I do this, and I shout at my mum, I shout at Andy, I shout at people around me, depending on what mood. But most of the time, which I'll talk about in a second, is I mainly direct anger towards myself. But I have been known to shout, to scream, to get really, really angry, and become very, very volatile around people. And I have to keep that in check and think about the other people around me, which is sometimes really hard when you're experiencing anger. And I experience anger as either a residual kind of underlying anger or something that bursts out in complete explosions and destroys everything it hits. Swearing, I do swear a lot anyway, but swearing probably is more increased. Using the F word, possibly the C word. And it can be very, very hard, but because I'm quite a sweary person anyway, there's the swearing just gets worse. Slamming doors or hitting things. I've slammed many doors in my time, and I've slammed one so much once that it was a door with a glass bit in the centre, and I slammed it so much that the glass became dislodged. It didn't smash, but the glass and the frame of the glass became dislodged from the main door. Hitting things, I've hit walls, I've hit doors, I've hit cupboards, I've kicked things, I've thrown things around, and yeah, not very nice. And I hit my laptop, last year sometime. Or was it this year? I can't remember. I think it was this year. I hit my laptop, and that completely destroyed the hard drive, and I lost some work because I didn't back things up. But these things happen. Physically violent, I'm never violent towards others. I'm usually violent towards myself, which I'll talk about in a second. Physically violent, verbally abusive, saying nasty, rude things to others. I mainly, again, do this about myself. I don't tend to do it about other people. If I do this, it's usually anger when they're not in the room. It sounds awful, but behind their back, and really, really over the top verbally abusive about other people, which is really, really hard and not great for people around me because they don't want to feel like I'm talking about them behind their back. But it can be like that sometimes. Threatening towards others. I'm not aggressive to people. I may have been in the past, but on a day-to-day basis I'm not aggressive to anyone, but I can manipulate. So the next one is inward aggression, and this is things such as telling myself I hate myself and denying myself my basic needs. Now, I've been battling a lot with depression recently, struggling to do some of my videos, including this one, but I hope it is okay. But I personally think that depression can be seen as anger internalized. So if we're battling with depression and we're battling with self-hate, denying ourselves our basic needs, then this could be seen as inward aggression and anger internalized. So telling myself I hate myself, for example, I will say that I'm ugly, fat, stupid. There's a lot of self-hate, a lot of self-loathing. I won't like the way I look. I won't like the thought of having to talk to other people because they've got to look at me, and it's a complete and going to the mirror purposefully to tell myself you're an effing bitch, or you are horrible, you're nasty, you're disgusting to look at. All of that comes out a lot through my depression, and I think that comes from anger at myself, anger at my life, because I do get angry about my life. I do get to a point where I think I'm not where I want to be, I'm not where I should be, lots of shoulds and oughts and musts. I'm not where I should be. I must get better. I must get to a point where I can function, and this is a really, really hard part for me. Inward aggression I definitely deal with more than the outward aggression. And also an inward aggression, denying myself the basic needs, such as food, eating too much, not eating enough. For me, I skip meals and then I pig out or I binge. I used to be bulimic and I used to binge and purge, whereas now I just go through the binging. Sleep, I seem to get too much sleep. Even now I'm quite tired. Just general kind of self-care going out the window, good sleep hygiene, good kind of leisure activities, taking pleasure in things. When you're feeling angry, then you're not going to be taking pleasure in things because everything is making you angry. And that is true for me. A lot of things make me angry. They make me really get to a point where I want to go and cut myself off from the rest of the world. I want to go and self-harm. I want to get to a point where I don't have to deal with anything anymore, because the more I deal with, the more I get stressed, the more I get angry, the more I get depressed. And the next one is non-violent or passive aggression. So this is a very different way of expressing anger, very different to the aggression and violence, the more sort of rage that we would think of as being angry. There's passive aggressive behaviour, which is a lot less obvious, but it can be just as hurtful, if not more hurtful in some ways. So, for example, for me, I may stop talking to people, I may refuse to speak to people, I may deliberately do things poorly or late or at the last possible minute, and I've done that a bit with the vlog. Leave things till the last minute, and then self-sabotage. It's a little bit self-sabotaging that in that respect. And being sarcastic or sulky. So I could be being different with Andy if things don't go my way. And we need to think about that type of anger just as much as the others. They are all unhealthy ways to express anger, and I do most of them, especially the inward aggression and the non-violent or passive aggressive. So day to day, living with anger. I have anger because of my borderline personality disorder. I also have it because I suffer from anxiety and depression. As I said, anger is the fight or flight response. So if we're constantly in that fight or flight where we're ready to pounce, or we're ready to run, or we're ready to fight, that can create stress, which makes you more prone to anger. And again, I also believe that depression is anger internalized. So I probably experience anger at least once a day, whether it be outward aggression or the non-violent or inward aggression. It will be, and there's always this residual underlying anger that's always there, very quick to my emotions, because I'm very, very on that verge. I'm on that kind of knife edge, not really sure which way I'm going to go next. Other times, so sometimes it's the residual underlying anger. Other times it comes out in rage, and that's usually throwing things, hitting myself, hiding away from people, and really, really struggling to calm down things. The incense stick has nearly burnt down. Let's get it nice and calm, shall we? It often takes over and is the only reality I experience. So at the time it seems really real, it seems totally fine and justified to behave that way, when actually it's very unhelpful to express anger in the ways I've just discussed. It feels like I'm filled up with rage, so much so that I might and can, well, that I might. Let's read that again. It feels like I'm hot and filled with rage, so much so that I can and do explode. It kind of sort of centers around here, and I can get hot, I can get sweaty, my palms can get clammy, and I tend to kind of, get really irritated by the slightest thing, like your hair being in the way or glasses not being on. I do let my anger control me. I'm not very good at controlling my anger. It's really, really hard, and it makes me more mentally ill. On a day-to-day basis, living with anger can make you more mentally ill. It comes from mental illness. It's sort of like originates from anxiety and depression and things like that. But you can have anger alone without having any other mental illness, but I would say it comes from anxiety. But that's just my point of view. Okay, if someone else has other thoughts, if you totally agree with me, actually, then just put in the space below. Always good to have a discussion going, whether we're on the same page or not, because it doesn't matter. It's always there. It may not come out of me always, but it's always there, residual feeling of anger coexisting with me. So I'm living alongside the anger. I'm living alongside the inward aggression, the non-violent and passive aggression. After my outburst, or if I've been feeling angry for many, many hours, I often feel depressed, sad, guilty, or even more angry after an outburst or an episode or a moment where I've expressed my anger. I'll always go to those things, and of course this makes me even more angry, because then I'm feeling depressed. And why am I feeling depressed? Because I was angry. Why was I angry? Or because this happened. Oh, well, I shouldn't have got angry. Well, then you shouldn't have got angry, sorry. Well, it's too late now, you're an idiot, you're fat, you're ugly, you're stupid, and then it goes around and around and around. So it can be a vicious cycle as well to live with anger. It makes me hate myself and people I love. It makes me jealous. It means I miss a lot of time feeling happy and content about my life and those within it. Yeah, this is very true. I'm not living in the moment. I'm not living in the present. I'm living with this anger going through me, which means the people I'm around either get to see me angry, or I have to get to a point where I am, not being able to reach out to them because I'm so immersed in the anger. And makes me hate myself even more when I hurt people around me, or whether it be passive aggressively or through inward aggression, if someone's seeing me get violent with myself or self-harm. Really, really hard to for people who are experiencing living with someone or in a relationship with someone who is angry a lot of the time, because you probably think, well, it's my fault, it must be my fault. It is not anyone's fault. We're allowed to get angry, but when we go to unhelpful anger such as this, it is something that we need to take control of. We need to take ownership of it. There's no point blaming other people. Although there may be valid reasons that you are angry because of other people, it doesn't mean that you're right in a way to behave in these unhelpful manners. I hope that made sense. See, I've got that residual anger going on today, and I'm trying to calm myself down with an incense sticks. My goodness. See, I'm getting angry because I know that I've messed up in this video a few times, but I want to keep it as real as possible. These videos are supposed to be me chatting rather than loads of cool edits and cuts. So yeah, finally it destroys me, it lies to me, and I can't remember a life without it. So very hard living with anger. Please tell me about your experience of living with anger. How does it come out? Do you go to the outward aggression and violence, or do you go more inward? Do you harm yourself more than other people, or do you go to the passive state of non-violent anger? Let me know your thoughts, and please check out mind.org because they have more fantastic information about anger on their website. Please take care of yourselves. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already.